David Blake was an ordinary man, living an ordinary life on Earth. He woke up every day at 7 a.m., made a cup of coffee, and sat at his desk to work as a freelance writer. His life had always been predictable, filled with the same routines and small joys. Little did he know, today would be the day that everything changed. It all started with an envelope. The envelope was unlike any he had ever seen before. It wasn't the standard white rectangular one with a printed address. No, this one was glowing, shimmering in hues of blue and silver, almost as though it were alive. The edges sparkled, and the paper had a strange, otherworldly texture. David's curiosity got the best of him, and he carefully opened the envelope, wondering if this was some sort of elaborate prank or a piece of marketing mail. Inside, he found a letter written in a language he had never seen before. The characters were intricate, swirling and shifting in a way that seemed almost hypnotic. At first, he assumed it was a foreign language, perhaps something from an ancient civilization. But as he stared at it longer, the letters began to change, becoming clearer and more understandable. The message was brief, but its meaning was unmistakable. You are invited to the galactic wedding of the age. Join us on the appointed date and witness the beginning of a new era. Your place is reserved. The time has come. David blinked, his heart pounding in his chest. He didn't know what to think. Was this some sort of joke? An alien conspiracy? Maybe a marketing stunt from some sci-fi event? He had seen strange things before, but this was next level. Yet despite his skepticism, he felt an odd pull in his gut. A sense that this invitation, no matter how absurd, was real. After a few moments of staring at the strange message, David made a decision. He had to go. Maybe it was his innate curiosity, or the sense that something bigger was at play, but he couldn't ignore the invitation. He decided to take a risk. What did he have to lose? The letter was unlike anything he had ever received, and for some reason, it felt important. The invitation had no specific instructions on how to get there, but David had a gut feeling that he would know what to do when the time came. After spending the rest of the day working in a daze, distracted by the mysterious letter, David found himself at the location stated in the message. An old, abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of the city. The place was dark, and there was no sign of life. Yet, something in the air felt different. A strange energy seemed to hum all around him. As he approached the warehouse, a bright light flashed from within. It wasn't the harsh light of a street lamp or a car's headlights. No, this light was ethereal, almost magical, and it seemed to draw him in. The hairs on the back of his neck stood up. There was something undeniably powerful about it. The closer he got, the more intense the light became until it surrounded him completely, almost as if it were pulling him toward it. And then, in an instant, David found himself standing inside a vast, sparkling hall. The space was far larger than any warehouse he had ever seen. It was a massive, futuristic cathedral made of shimmering, liquid-like metal that twisted and curved in impossible ways. The walls were covered in iridescent patterns that seemed to move with the flicker of light, and the air smelled fresh, almost sweet, like the scent of rain on a distant planet. David looked around, his mind struggling to comprehend what he was seeing. The space was filled with beings, alien beings to be exact. They stood in quiet clusters, whispering amongst themselves, their bodies radiating a soft, otherworldly glow. Their faces were beautiful, other than human in ways David couldn't fully understand. Some had elongated limbs, while others had delicate, almost translucent skin. Their eyes shimmered like stars, as though their very souls were made of light. As David stood there, rooted to the spot in awe, the crowd suddenly fell silent. He felt all eyes turn toward him and his heart skipped a beat. It was then that he noticed something else. On the grand, ornate stage at the front of the hall stood an alien queen. She was tall, regal, and draped in an elaborate gown made of light itself. Her eyes, deep and wise, studied him as if she were waiting for something. A few seconds passed before she finally spoke, her voice soft but clear. carrying an undeniable authority. "Welcome, David Blake," she said, her voice echoing through the hall. "You have arrived." David's heart pounded in his chest, and he felt an overwhelming surge of confusion and excitement. How did she know his name? He hadn't told anyone where he was going. How could she possibly know who he was? As if reading his thoughts, the Queen continued. "The time has come for the union of worlds," she said. "You are the chosen one, the groom." David's breath caught in his throat. Groom? He had no idea what she meant. What kind of groom? Who was he supposed to marry? His mind raced, trying to piece everything together. But the more he tried to understand, the less sense it made. Was this all part of some elaborate dream? Or had he somehow stumbled into an alien wedding? He didn't know. But one thing was clear. David Blake had walked into something far beyond his comprehension. As he tried to make sense of the situation, the Queen extended her hand toward him, signaling that he should step forward. The entire hall seemed to hold its breath as he moved slowly toward her. The weight of the moment was overwhelming. Little did David know, he was about to be swept into an adventure that would change his life forever. David stood frozen, staring at the alien Queen as she extended her hand toward him. The murmurs of the crowd echoed in the vast hall, their eyes locked on him as though he were the centerpiece of an intricate puzzle. Every second felt like an eternity. Was he dreaming? This couldn't be real. But the bright, shimmering light around him, the soft hum of the metallic walls, the warm, ethereal air, it all felt so tangible, so real. He took a step forward, his legs trembling beneath him. The Queen's gaze never wavered, her expression serene yet filled with something else, an ancient knowledge, a weight of destiny. The others in the hall parted silently to create a path leading directly to her, and David, still trying to process what was happening, found himself walking down it. His mind was a blur of thoughts. Why him? Why was he the groom? Did they mean something else by groom? The Queen's voice, calm and regal, broke through his thoughts. "You've been chosen, David Blake. The time has come for the union of worlds, and you are the key to our future." David looked around, confusion growing. "Union of worlds? What do you mean by that? I don't even know who you are or why I'm here." The Queen smiled softly, almost kindly. "You've come a long way, David. Your role in this wedding is more than just a formality. You are the bridge between Earth and us, the one who will unite our civilizations. Your arrival is a fulfillment of a prophecy that was written long ago." David's heart raced and a cold chill ran down his spine. Prophecy? He didn't know what she meant, but something in her voice told him this was serious. The other aliens in the room, each one more alien than the last, watched him with a mix of curiosity, admiration, and expectancy. He felt exposed, as if his very soul were being scrutinized. Still, David couldn't shake the growing feeling that he didn't belong here. He had stumbled into an event that was so far beyond him that his mind couldn't quite catch up. He thought of his life on Earth, his simple, mundane existence as a freelance writer, and wondered how it had led to this strange, otherworldly wedding. It felt like a dream, yet the reality of it all was too vivid to deny. The Queen continued, her voice gentle but firm. "You were not chosen by chance, David. The universe has called you here, and you must play your part in the coming era. There is no turning back now." David's chest tightened. He opened his mouth to speak, but no words came out. The gravity of the situation was settling in. He wasn't just a visitor. He wasn't just an observer. He was here for a reason. But what reason? He had no answers, only questions. The Queen gestured to the side, and one of the alien princesses stepped forward. She was unlike anyone David had ever seen, tall with delicate features and eyes that seemed to glow faintly. Her skin shimmered like the surface of a pearl, and her robes seemed to flow and change colors as she moved. She extended her hand toward David, who instinctively took it. "This is Princess Lyara," the Queen explained. "She is one of the many princesses who will join with you in this sacred union. Together, you will solidify the alliance between our worlds and ensure peace for generations to come. David's mind reeled. He was supposed to marry one of these princesses? Was this some sort of ceremony, or was it a trap? He couldn't understand how he could have any part in such an ancient cosmic union. But the princess's gaze was kind. Her eyes filled with an unsettling mix of warmth and mystery. She seemed to expect him to accept this fate without question. But David couldn't. He felt a surge of panic, and for a brief moment he wanted to run. Escape. This couldn't be happening. He was just an ordinary man. Someone who had never asked for this. He didn't even know where he was. Before he could speak, the queen raised her hand, signaling for silence. The entire room fell still. You may not understand now, David, the queen said, but you will. All will become clear soon. This is a great responsibility, and it's a responsibility that falls on you and you alone. Your world is in grave danger, and only by joining with us can you help us save it. The words hit David like a physical blow. Danger? What danger? What do you mean by that? The queen's face became solemn, her eyes narrowing with a hint of sadness. The universe is in turmoil. Civilizations are at war, and we are no exception. There are forces, powerful, dark forces that seek to destroy what we've built. We need you, David, to help us unite and stand against them. You are the key to peace. The joining of our worlds begins with you. David's breath caught in his throat. He felt the weight of her words, but he couldn't fully comprehend them. Was this some sort of test? Was he being manipulated into doing something he didn't fully understand? His mind raced with questions, but before he could ask another one, the queen's voice rang out once more. Tonight you will undergo the sacred bonding ceremony. It is the final step. You must accept your role, David. There is no other way. David was overwhelmed. The tension in the room grew palpable, and he felt trapped. There was no escape, no going back. He had been chosen for something far greater than he could fathom, and the clock was ticking. As he looked around, he realized the entire fate of not just Earth, but the alien world now rested in his hands. The uncertainty and fear gnawed at him, but one thing became clear. He was about to embark on a journey that would change everything, not just for him, but for the universe itself. And there was no turning back. David stood there, his heart racing, overwhelmed by the queen's words. The joining of our worlds begins with you. The weight of it all pressed down on him like an invisible force, and for a moment, he felt his legs weaken beneath him. His mind was racing, trying to process everything he had learned in such a short span of time. He wasn't just an observer at this wedding. He wasn't even an invited guest. He was the groom to all the princesses of an alien civilization. David, the queen's voice broke through his thoughts, calm and commanding, yet filled with a sadness that touched him deeply. You've been chosen for this because you are the one who can bridge the gap between our worlds. The universe itself has aligned to bring you here. You are the key to our future. David felt his throat dry. The alien princesses standing all around him wore expressions of patience, expectation, and a strange longing. He noticed one of them, Princess Liara, standing closest to him, her gaze soft yet filled with a quiet determination. Her eyes seemed to be trying to convey something, a connection that he couldn't quite grasp. Why me? David found his voice, his question coming out more desperate than he intended. I'm just a man. I'm no one special. I don't even understand what's happening. I don't know how to save anyone. The queen's gaze softened and she stepped forward, placing a hand on his shoulder. Her touch was unexpectedly warm, a strange comfort amidst the chaos swirling in David's mind. You may not see it now, but the bond between our worlds has been foretold for centuries. The humans of Earth have always been part of this cosmic cycle. You are the chosen one, because you represent what we all need: unity, hope. You are the key to defeating the darkness that looms over us. David's mind spun as the queen's words began to take root. Could it be true? He had always felt that there was more to life than what he had known on Earth. Maybe this was his purpose, this strange, unexpected destiny that had called him here. But then doubt crept in. Was this some sort of cosmic manipulation? Was he just a pawn in a game far bigger than he could comprehend? How could someone like him, someone ordinary, be the savior of entire worlds? The pressure to accept this fate felt unbearable. His gut told him there was more to this than he could see. What was he really being asked to do? As if sensing his hesitation, the Queen stepped back, allowing one of the elder council members to approach him. The elder, an ancient being whose skin shimmered with an iridescent glow, spoke in a voice that echoed across the hall. "David Blake," the elder said, "our civilization has faced an impending threat for millennia. Forces, dark and powerful, have been seeking to destroy us. They prey on the weak, and we have been on the defensive for too long. But there is hope. The prophecy speaks of a union, of a human and an alien race coming together to form a bond that will fight the darkness. This is the essence of your role. You, David, are not just a groom. You are the protector of this alliance. You are the key to saving both our worlds." David's heart pounded as the elder's words sank in. "So, I'm supposed to marry all these princesses to stop the darkness?" he asked, the words sounding absurd even to his own ears. The elder nodded solemnly. "Yes, but it is more than just a union of bodies. It is a bond that transcends time and space. Through this bond you will harness the power of the ancients, the strength of your own humanity, and the wisdom of our people. Only through this connection can we truly combat the forces that threaten our existence." David's mind swirled. The weight of what they were asking him to do felt heavier than ever. But deep within him, something stirred. A connection, a flicker of understanding. It was as if the universe itself was calling him to step into something greater than himself. Could this really be his destiny? Could he really be the savior of two worlds, the key to stopping an intergalactic war? Before he could gather his thoughts, Princess Liara stepped forward, her gaze unwavering as she met his eyes. "You are not alone in this, David. We will stand with you, all of us. Together, we are stronger than you can imagine. The bond we share will give us the power to fight against the darkness to ensure peace and prosperity for both our worlds." Her words, soft yet filled with certainty, did something to him. It wasn't just the words themselves, but the deep sincerity in her eyes that made David believe, even if just for a moment, that there might be hope for this mission, for this alliance. But that hope was fleeting, quickly replaced by the growing tension of what lay ahead. David realized that the ceremony, the joining, the bond, it wasn't just about love or peace. It was about survival. The darkness the elder spoke of was real, and it was closing in. As the Queen turned to face the council and the princesses, the atmosphere in the hall grew heavy. The threat was not just a distant idea anymore. It was an immediate, pressing reality. David now understood that this wasn't a simple wedding. It was a battle, a fight for the future of both Earth and this alien civilization. And David, whether he was ready or not, was about to take the first step into the unknown. The Queen raised her hand to signal the start of the ceremony, and David's heart raced. This was it. There was no turning back now. He had been thrust into a role he never asked for, a destiny he never imagined. As he stood there, surrounded by the alien princesses and the waiting crowd, David knew that this moment would change everything, whether he was ready or not. The ceremony was beginning, and with it, the weight of the universe was on his shoulders. David stood at the center of the alien hall, his heart pounding in his chest as the weight of the universe pressed down on him. The ceremony had begun, and everything around him was moving in a direction he couldn't control. The princesses, all radiant in their otherworldly gowns, stood in a semicircle around him, their eyes filled with an expectation that made him feel small and insignificant. His fate was no longer his own. The moment had arrived. But as the time to commit drew closer, a storm of doubt raged inside him. Princess Liara, who had been by his side since the start, stepped forward. Her expression was serene, yet her eyes held a depth of emotion that David could hardly understand. She extended her hand toward him, her fingers delicate and glowing faintly. A silent invitation to step into a future that had been written for him long before he had ever known this world. David's gaze shifted to the Queen, standing majestically at the front, her regal posture commanding the room. The Council of Elders stood beside her, their faces grave, their eyes filled with hope. They all looked at him as if he were the key to their salvation, their future, the link that would bind two civilizations in a fragile peace. But it was not just their futures at stake. It was the future of Earth, of his home. Could he truly bear such responsibility? He could feel the weight of their gaze, the pressure to step into a role that was never meant for him. He thought about his simple life back on Earth, his quiet days as a freelance writer filled with small struggles and fleeting joys. It was hard to reconcile that life with the person standing here now, on the brink of deciding the fate of two worlds. It wasn't supposed to be this way. He wasn't supposed to be a hero. He wasn't even sure he wanted to be a groom, at least not like this. But then, as his eyes met Liara's once more, something inside him clicked. Her eyes weren't just filled with hope, they were filled with trust. She trusted him to make this decision. She believed in him, even though he barely understood what he was meant to do. And that belief, it struck him like a lightning bolt. For the first time since he had stepped into this strange new world, David felt a sense of purpose. The Queen's voice rang out again, gentle but powerful. "David, the choice is yours. Only you can decide if you are ready to take this step. Your destiny cannot be forced upon you, but it must be embraced for the sake of both our worlds." He stood there, the noise of the ceremony fading into the background as his mind raced. The decision wasn't just about him anymore. It was about the future of humanity, about the very survival of two civilizations. It was about a connection, an alliance that had been written in the stars. He had been brought here for a reason, and maybe that reason wasn't just about being a groom. Maybe it was about being the bridge between worlds. Maybe, just maybe, this was his true purpose. David took a deep breath, his hands trembling as he reached out toward Liara. He felt the warmth of her hand as it enveloped his. Her touch was the final piece of the puzzle he hadn't even realized he needed. It was in that moment when their hands touched that David understood. This wasn't about marrying alien princesses. This was about unity, about breaking down the barriers between their worlds, about showing the universe that even the most unlikely of beings could come together for a common cause. "I accept," he said, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "I accept my role. I accept this destiny. I will be the groom, if it means I can help save both our worlds." The room seemed to hold its breath, and for a moment, time stood still. The princesses, the Queen, and the Council all exhaled in unison, a collective sigh of relief filling the air. The tension that had been building for so long began to dissipate, and David felt a strange peace settle over him. He wasn't alone in this anymore. He had made his choice, and it was one that would shape the course of history. The Queen smiled warmly at him, her eyes glistening with gratitude. "You have chosen wisely, David Blake. You have chosen to unite us, to protect us, and to protect your own world. This is the beginning of a new era." David turned to the princesses who now stood behind him, their faces glowing with pride. Liara's gaze never left him, and David could see the deep respect in her eyes. She was not just a princess. She was a symbol of what they were fighting for, a future where peace, love, and unity could triumph over darkness. As the ceremony continued, David felt a sense of fulfillment he had never known. He knew that there was no turning back now. He had chosen his path, and in doing so, he had not only united two worlds, but had also found his true calling. The fear that had once gripped him began to fade, replaced by a quiet confidence. He was ready for this, ready to stand alongside these beings to fight for their future and to bring hope where there had been none. And as the ceremony reached its final moment, The cosmic bond between David and the alien princesses was sealed. Glowing, bright with an energy that seemed to reverberate throughout the hall, the universe had spoken and David had answered. With a final powerful flash of light, David felt a rush of energy flow through him, an energy like nothing he had ever experienced. It was as if the very essence of both worlds was now a part of him. The darkness that had once loomed over them felt distant, now overshadowed by the light of unity. David smiled, knowing that no matter what came next, he had made the right choice. In that moment, he wasn't just a human. He was a symbol of peace. And the future, for the first time, felt full of endless possibilities. The ceremony ended, but David's journey had only just begun.